Have you ever stopped to think what it would be like if Dragon Shiryu had been trained by Capricorn Shura instead of the Old Master? The fate of one of Athena's most honorable knights could have been sealed in blood by the sharpest blade in the sanctuary, turning him into a merciless fighting machine. Hello, knights and Amazons. Welcome to the Semperquist Saber channel. I'm Wes, and today we're going to look at one of the most fascinating possibilities in the Saint Seiya universe. Let's stay on the timeline and explore a scenario where the five ancient peaks of Rozan never saw Shiryu's face. Just imagine if our beloved dragon had been sent to the mountains of Spain to become a disciple of none other than Capricorn Shura. In this video, we'll analyze what this brutal training would be like, which armor he would wear before taking the Gold Saint position, and, of course, what would happen to the impetuous Oku at the foot of the Rozan waterfall. So, without further ado, comment below where you're watching from. And, of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. And hit like... To understand this change, we need to look at the basics. In the original canon, Shiryu is sent by Mitsumasa Kido to China. There, under the guidance of the Old Master, Doko of Libra, a survivor of the previous holy war against Hades, he learns not only the dragon's wrath technique, but also the entire philosophy of balance, justice, and the value of life. But what if Shiryu's training card and journey had a different destination? And what if, due to a strategic decision by the sanctuary, Mitsumasa Kido, or fate itself, he was entrusted to Capricorn Shura? In the anime, the Capricorn Saint Shura is known as the most loyal knight to Athena. Although this loyalty was tainted by the manipulation of the Grand Master Ares, who was actually Gemini's Saga. Shura is the man who wields Excalibur, a technique that resides in his arms and legs, capable of cutting through anything that exists. Unlike the meditation and calm of Rozan, the training in Spain would be focused on absolute military discipline, light speed movement, and refining the body as a cutting weapon. Shiryu, who already has a disciplined and serious nature, would quickly adapt to Shura's rigor. However, his personality would be shaped in a much more aggressive way. Instead of seeking the balance between the fist and the shield, he would seek the perfection of the slash. Shura would not teach Shiryu to reverse the flow of the waterfall, but rather how to split the atom itself. One of the big questions of this theory is what protection Shiryu would use before he was ready for the Capricorn gold cloth. In Saint Seiya, the cloths are not just garments. They have their own will and are connected to the constellations. Since the training would take place under the direct supervision of a gold saint at the sanctuary, or in his domain in Spain, Shiryu would not be sent to seek the bronze dragon cloth. He would be in the line of succession for Capricorn, however. To prove his worth, he would probably be assigned to a silver cloth. The most logical and poetically powerful choice would be the silver cloth of Perseus. And why? Think about it, Shiryu's trademark has always been his indestructible shield. Perseus's cloth has the Medusa shield, capable of petrifying any opponent. Under Shura's tutelage, Shiryu would learn to use the shield not only for defense, but also as a strategic support to deliver fatal blows. With his hands, which are now transformed into blades, he would be known as Perseus of Capricorn, a warrior who paralyzes the enemy's soul before cutting it in half. Some theorists also suggest the silver altar cloth, which historically belongs to the substitute of the Grand Master, or to someone the sanctuary places immense trust in for their technical skill. Since Shura saw himself as a pillar of loyalty, he would require his disciple to occupy a position of prestige and vigilance within the hierarchy of the elite. While Shiryu becomes a living blade in Europe, what happens in China? Without the balanced presence of Shiryu, Oku, the young, impetuous, and wild one, would be the only disciple of Doko of Libra. Oku always had a powerful Cosmo, but his nature was violent and undisciplined. In the original story, he is expelled by Doko for using his power for selfish purposes and for not achieving the necessary spiritual peace. But in a world where Shiryu doesn't exist, for Oku to be the perfect son, Doko would have to dedicate 100% of his energy to Oku. In this scenario, Oku would undoubtedly become the Dragon Knight. Without the rivalry that led to his expulsion, he would eventually manage to reverse the flow of the great waterfall of Rozan. However, we would have a very different Dragon Knight. The Dragon Oku would be a warrior driven purely by animal instinct, whose attacks would be more brutal and less technical than Shiryu's. The dragon armor, bathed in the blood of mythological beings and hardened by millennia under the pressure of water, would take on a much darker tone in his way of fighting. The answer to our initial question about the video's curiosity is right here. Did you know that in the original concept by Masami Kurumada, the Dragon Knight was supposed to have a personality much closer to that of a lone wolf? Oku embodies this idea. If he were the owner of the armor, the group of bronze knights,
teria anti-herói interno muito mais instável.
if these two met during the Galactic War or during the invasion of the 12 Houses. On one side, Shiryu wearing the silver armor of Perseus, or already acting as an official candidate for Capricorn, wielding a refined version of Excalibur. And on the other side, Oku the dragon with an explosive, wild Cosmo. The confrontation would be a paradox. Shiryu would have the technical advantage and the coldness of an executioner. Oku would have the dragon's absurd endurance and the unpredictability of someone fighting for survival and not for duty. This duel would decide not only who is the strongest, but which training philosophy is superior. Shura's deadly discipline or Doko's ancient wisdom. In this alternate reality, Shiryu probably wouldn't have the same emotional connection with Seiya and the others, at least not from the beginning. He would be seen as a sanctuary officer, perhaps even sent to eliminate the rebellious knights. Shiryu's redemption would only happen when he realized Saga's corruption, possibly through Oku's sacrifice, who would die to show his former brother in arms what it means to be a true knight, even if they never trained together in this reality. Shura of Capricorn, according to the Sanctuary's historical records, is a warrior whose cutting power is proportional to his conviction. His technique? Jumping stone. However, the jumping stone allows him to use the opponent's strength against themselves, something that Shiryu would integrate into his fighting style, becoming almost untouchable in close combat. Doko, in turn, by training Oku as a dragon, would be passing on the legacy of the scales to a young man who can barely control his own anger. This could lead Doko to intervene earlier in the story, maybe even revealing his true form, that of the 18-year-old from the Holy War of 1743.
Para conter Oku fora de controle.
A switch of masters would completely change Saint Seiya. We would have a more lethal Shiryu and a more heroic or tragic Oku. The Capricorn armor would be inherited by Shiryu much earlier. He wouldn't be the knight who sacrificed himself using the last dragon, but rather the one who executes Athena's justice with a single hand movement. So, what did you think of this change of fate? Do you think Silver Shiryu would defeat Dragon Oku? Comment down below which other change in the fate of Knights of the Zodiac you would like to see in this style of video. And don't forget to drop a cosmic like and subscribe so you don't miss any theories from this amazing universe. Anyway, thanks for watching this video until the end. Thanks, see you, we're in this together. And until next time, burn your Cosmo to infinity.